And don't forget, you can also send us your questions and comments for Listeners Takeover, like this one from Stefan, who says, I'm relatively new to road biking and not exactly in top shape. I'm 6 foot, 100 kilos and not in the muscly way. But I've set myself the goal of riding 250 kilometres with about 2,000 metres of elevation in a single day, about a year from now, from my place to my parents. Any tips on training or preparation, or should I not do it at all?
My very first instinct is don't do it.
No, it isn't.
But then I'm instantly followed up with it's very sensible. It's a year of preparation, which is excellent. His place to his parents' place, so it's familiar roads, familiarity. There's like a nice goal at the end of it. You get to your parents and you're like, yeah, that was mint. I've once done a similar ride to this. I rode London to Brighton and back again the long way. And it was about 240 kilometers at about 2,500 meters of elevation. And it is one of the most unpleasant riding experiences of my life. So I can use this, I guess, as a place to give some thoughts on things he might want to think about. Even though it was one of the most unpleasant rides I've ever done in my life, I'm still glad that I did it, which is a positive, very anti Mr. Demotivator. And the reason it was so incredibly unpleasant is the first 100 kilometers, I absolutely spanked myself. There was a big group of us riding. I did a big chunk of it on the front. I was fresh. I was fit. I was like, this is easy. This is like a super chilled 100K. This is amazing. Not thinking that I then had to do it all again on the way home, the hilly route. So ultimately, no matter how excited and how easy it feels at the beginning, it's a long day. So just chill out. Go easier than you think you need to go early and save yourself for later on in the day when it gets horrible.
That's very good advice, actually. Yes. Training-wise, consistency is the most important thing you can do. So don't think about crazy training plans and stuff. Just ride regularly. That's what James keeps telling me in the bike shop. Obviously, I don't do any of this, but that's what you should do. Keep your heart rate below 75%. Ideally, around about 70%, because below that, you're just wasting time. And you don't want to waste time, but also don't push yourself. Like discipline. Do not do what Jimmy's done. Do not burn any matches.
Including uphill, including downhill.
Uphill, downhill, everywhere. Somebody passing you, think like just essentially keep that consistent pace. And then eat regularly. If you do that, you should. There's this thing that came out back in the day. Like if you eat correctly and you keep below 75% of heart rate, and a healthy person, doesn't matter how fit they are, should be able to ride for 12 hours. Your problem is not going to be your legs or your heart, or your lungs. Your problem is going to be your feet, your hands, and your ass.
Yeah,
that's what's going to be the issue.
Shoulders, neck,
shoulders, necks. Yeah. So I would say for this year training, get used to doing a couple of longer rides just to get used to sitting in a bike. Get used to which bicycle shorts you're going to wear. Get used to what shoes you're going to wear. Get used to what gloves and things like that. Get used to what food you're going to eat. Because you can't just on the day start throwing in new foods that you've not tried before.
Preferably real food for that kind of duration as well.
That could cause you trouble. Yeah, you can't just have sugar for that kind of, because this is going to be a long ride. He's going to be out there for 10, 12 hours. And then I would also say try and stop as little as possible.
Do you think?
Don't see, yes.
I see where you're going with that.
Cafe stops, you seize up.
It is hard to get yourself moving again. Yeah.
Learn to eat while riding your bike. Also, if you are going to stop, walk around. Don't just be sitting down for ages, because restarting is going to be harder than if you just continued riding. And then also figure out how you're going to entertain yourself.
That's a good one.
For some people, it's a thing of like, if you ride with friends the whole time and then on that ride you're by yourself, are you taking music? Are you like, just get used to.
I think something, in my opinion, that's good to think about is comfort. And it's essentially a lot of what you've just said there anyway. Comfort rather than performance. So don't think, well, I'm out for ages, so I want to be aero, I want to be fast, because you won't be. Think, actually, if I've got comfortable tires and things like suspension stems and all of those kind of like comfort adding things, you're going to be able to sit on a bike for longer, and that is ultimately what's going to get you through.
This is one of those clear-cut things where we keep talking about aero, yes, is one thing, but comforters makes you a lot faster because, yes, you can talk about an hour, but if you're riding 10, 15 hours, what fatigue do you have from getting rattled around on an uncomfortable bike or, like you say, position and things like that? So, yeah, I think it's doable. Loads of people do this. Every year you hear stories of people doing an ultra. It's completely possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely do it or try it at least.
I'm surprised your advice isn't just rest for the whole year and then 2 weeks before then.
But he knows that's not the correct way to do it.
Yeah.
But he still does.
I think a point-to-point thing is really good for that because you can't stop.
Well, you did a point-to-point, didn't you?
I did do a point-to-point, yeah. I did, we did a coast-to-coast, but like an elongated route, which I think was it wasn't as long as this. It was just over 100k the first day and then maybe like 180k the second day.
Yeah.
But it was broken up into 2 days. But fucking hilly. And I remember getting the first day we stopped got to a little hostel thing. And I went to bed like, can I ride my bike for another day? And I woke up in the morning. I was like, it'll be fine in the morning. I woke up in the morning like, I hurt even more than last night. But then you just get on and then 10 minutes later it's...
Numbs up.
Numbs up, exactly. And then you're bedded in, but you haven't got a choice. The thing, you do not have a choice. I was doing it or I was getting left behind. So...
I've never done a point-to-point like that.
Have you not?
My last really long ride was a few years back, 233k. And as one of my friends, Joe, wanted to do 100 miles for the first time. So I said, I'll do it with him. And I cycled from my house to his house, which was 24 kilometers. Then we started and we rode through Blanchland, obviously not the greatest route, stand up all the hilliest places in the world. Stopped in Bishop Auckland, had some food, and then carried on along the coast and rode back. I rode within 1 kilometer of my house, passed it, rode 25k to his house, stopped, had some food, had to get back on my bike and ride 25k back to my own house. And ended up with 233 kilometers for the day. But that going past my house, knowing it's right there, that would have been roughly 180k in was painful.
Whenever I've had to do big training things, I've always made sure that I make it as possible to be recovered, but harder for me to be able to go, I'm done here. Because that would have been me done. I'd be like, you can sort yourself out. You know how to get home from here. I'm done. I'll give you a lift.
The only other thing that I thought, from thinking back to having supported like Chris Hall on his 24-hour national TT stuff, and from when you, Jimmy, used to do ultra marathons, the idea of getting into a routine. So, you might break stuff up into hours, into 2 hours, whatever it is, and every hour you have a specific set of things that you do. So with your nutrition, you have a certain set of things that you do. Also with like checking in with your body. How are my hands feeling? How do I need to get out of the saddle? Do I need to stand up for 10 seconds and just, shake it off? Am I going to have a stop for 5 minutes every hour? I think almost like breaking it up into a routine makes you sure you don't forget things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That is a good point. It's interesting because a lot of the ultra stuff that I did from a running perspective, I just don't process it in the same way as cycling. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if I was going to go and run for 10 hours, I would be instantly, that would just be my default, is to break it up into blocks. With admin, as I've always referred to it, as part of that. But if I was going out to do a 10-hour bike ride, I would just be like, we'll just see what happens. Yeah. And then it would be very unpleasant.
Yeah, totally. And you can set up like little alerts on your bike computer and stuff like that, can't you? Tell you to eat, to tell you to drink. You can set it up into laps. So maybe every time a lap elapses, you have a certain routine that you go through, do your admin and all of that kind of stuff.
Good luck, Stefan. I hope you have every success with your goal and challenge that you're looking to do.